You're listening to the Rapley's Fusion Podcast.
I just couldn't believe where I was. I had my own trailer, and I was sitting next to Danny DeVito at one point. I was like, oh my God. You're paying me out as to be the bad guy here. No.
Hello and welcome to the Rapley's Fusion Podcast. As usual, I'm joined by the man behind it all, director of the Cheerleader film, Ethan, and today's very special guest. And just before we start properly, a little bit about today's guest. Acting from the age of 7, attending weekend classes at the Old Rep Theatre. He graduated with a BA in acting from Rose Bruford Drama School in 2004. Since that time, he's starred in TV series, adverts, and even blockbuster films. Recently, Beetlejuice, playing Astrid's doctor, I believe, alongside Jenna Ortega.
Yep.
And then making an even bigger step in his career by starring as Judge Jeff in The Cheerleader, which neatly brings us all here today. Welcome, a very warm welcome to Rupi Lal. Hello, Rupi.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to having a chat, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it, Jack.
I feel like I covered all bases there. Well, not really, but the main points. But we'll go in more depth, obviously, as we carry on with this week's chat. So let's sort of start from the beginning, I guess, Rupi. Let's go back to when you sort of first started getting into acting, if you like. We can really go back in time and kind of explore the beginning. So you started, I believe, at age 7. Is that correct? That was your first foray into acting? Yeah,
it kind of, for me, it started with basically watching television like no man's business. I loved Knight Rider and A-Team and Nighthawk and all these programs on TV. Incredible Hulk used to scare me, but that's another story. But no, I used to watch all these shows on TV, and I think I said to my family, my sister who was listening, who's the eldest out of the siblings, I said something like, I want to do that. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I want to be on TV. And she took notice of that. At the time, her friends at work, one of them had their children participating in acting classes at the weekend. So my sister got me involved, and they were at the Birmingham Theatre School, which were based upstairs at the Old Rep Theatre. So if you know Birmingham and you know the New Street Station, which is Grand Station now, or Grand Central, it's literally just on the outskirts. You know, there's a pub on the corner which is famous now because it's got pictures of, you know, Ozzy Osbourne and his band.
Oh, yeah.
So it's literally down the road from there. But every Saturday I used to go, and it was a couple of hours on a Saturday, and I absolutely loved it. And it was just taught me all the basics, you know, stage left, stage right, and performing, making sure face to the front, no back to the audience, all these basics with Cecilia Jenkins, who was my teacher at the time, and Chris, who used to run it as well. And I had a blast, and that was my kind of first ventures into acting. And I did that from age 7 all the way till probably 16, I think. But I absolutely loved it.
Wow. Okay. And this was, so you mentioned the TV shows you grew up on. Is it fair to say you're a child of the 80s? Because all those shows you mentioned are big 80s shows.
Yeah, massively. And we're massive fans of Stranger Things as well. So it's been brilliant. And then all the other old 80s things that have come back, Indiana Jones, Batman. You know, Ethan will probably know I'm a massive Batman fan. So, we'll you know, eventually I'm sure we'll talk about Tim Burton and things like that, which was, you know, so yeah, it was. It's been great time at the moment with all the 80s throwbacks.
I feel like the 80s has been revived for ages, isn't it? The 80s revival started in the 2000s and it hasn't kind of stopped. I think people just love the 80s so much, don't they? And they never want to let it go.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously I bet at the time, people around the time, you don't maybe appreciate what you've got until it's gone. And it's funny because you could argue that we've got more now than what we had in the 80s. Yeah, looking back, it seems like people were maybe happier. I don't know. You know, so it's an interesting dynamic.
Especially in the 90s as well. But anyway, we're diverting. So after you did the stage school at a younger age, that prompted you to go to Rose Bruford Drama School, which is obviously one of the top acting schools, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was that kind of journey like, and how did that help you improve your acting skills?
Yeah, it was challenging, especially the first year in particular. It was very challenging. But the journey to Rose Bruford, so via the acting classes on the weekend, at school, at Dartmouth High School, in Great Barn, Birmingham. I did my GCSEs, and then the plan was to stay at high school and do my A levels. So I enrolled on doing, obviously, drama at A level, and I think I was going to do graphic design and things like that. But at the last minute, probably about 3 or 4 weeks before the end of term, the numbers weren't high enough for them to do the course. So I was stuck in a dilemma. What do I do? And quickly, I looked at Dudley College. Went down to Dudley College, had a meeting there with the people that ran the performing arts course. What they advised me to do, which was a little bit unusual, they said, look, we'd love to have you, but what we advise you to do is to do the BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts, as well as doing the A-level in Performing Arts. Okay. And obviously, it was a curious thing for them to suggest. Their reasoning for it, they said, was that the BTEC will get you up with the practical, but the A-level will get you up with the theory. So if you do go on to university, dissertations you'll be fine with. So I took on board their advice. In hindsight, maybe I should have done some of the A levels. Back then, they weren't offering the 5 A levels or AS levels. It was just the 3 at the time. But the BTEC was equivalent to 2, and the A level was 1. So that's what I decided to do. And I kind of aced it, to be fair, because I had all that kind of experience doing the Saturday classes. Not that it was easy, you know. Nothing's ever easy, but I did really well. I was really proud. I got like 17 distinctions and 5 merits and only 1 pass. So as I said, I sailed through college. But it gave me a good grounding, because then the auditions for drama schools they're tough, man. You know, Central School of Speech and Drama in London, went there. Birmingham, which really irritates me even to this point, because it's been such a long time. But they didn't want to put me on the acting course. They suggested doing the performing arts one. And that really ticked me off. I was like, what do you think, I'm not good enough for the acting course? So I remember going to an open day there, and I had a look around, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that here. No. Funny enough, everyone was turning me down. And then Rose Bruford was the last to tell me yes or no. And eventually they said, yeah, we'll have you. And I absolutely loved it. But like I said, first year tough, second and third year was better. But it was very challenging, because I think, you know, I say I'm a Brummy Bum, West Brom, yum yum. But I'm a homely guy. I hadn't spent so long away from my family, so it was 15 weeks the first term. And the guy I was lodging with, he wasn't a particularly nice person, so it was very tough. But in my second and third year, I landed on my feet, because I was now staying with different people. We moved everything from the campus where we were at to Sidcup in Kent, which is a lovely area. And Daphne and Jim, who I call my London parents, and for my children, we call them our London grandparents. They took care of me, man. They did my washing, my cleaning, my ironing, fed me. You know, they really took care of me, and I flourished. Second and third year were really good. And got an agent, and then from there onwards got a few things.
Oh wow, okay. Now actually, do you know what, this leads quite neatly into my next question, because you talked about Birmingham in the West Country. Now I've got one of your first roles, or perhaps even your first role on IMDb at least. Okay. Credit in children's classic 90s children's television series Brum. Yeah. Which was about the little car that had human characteristics, and it was filmed in the West Midlands, wasn't it? Was that your first credit? And what age were you when you got that role in Brum?
We filmed it on my 18th birthday.
So you were okay. So that was just after.
I've seen it on YouTube, and I can see how young you are.
Was it when we were filming the Cheerleader? Was it at the cafe? I think I might have showed it on YouTube or something. I can't remember, but
I think I looked it up just because I saw your IMDb, and I looked it up, and I think you're in a yellow shirt. I think.
I was wearing my own clothes, actually. To be fair, I think I was in a blue shirt that I only wore to like weddings and stuff. I had my nice clean brown shoes on, and my jeans and stuff, playing the boyfriend character. And I actually got this before I went to Rose Bruford. So I was still at Dudley College. I was in my last year, and I had an agent at the time, and they got me this. But it was weird because I didn't know what it was until like the first day of kind of rehearsal. They just said, you're playing the boyfriend character in a Birmingham-based kind of program. I was like, oh, this is going to be like serious, man. I'm going, this is going to be a boyfriend character. This is going to be great. And then when I got there, and it was Brum, and I loved it because we were all aware of it because it was filmed in Birmingham. But yeah, very kind of clownish kind of behaviour and stuff like that. No words are spoken. But yeah, great experience.
Because it's still an acting gig, still BBC, and I think BBC, wasn't it, Brum? CBC. Was that a bit of a flex going to Rose Bruford? I'd been on TV. I'd been in Brum. Were you one of the few that had a TV credit going into that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was a bit of a flex, but I had to obviously not show off or anything because obviously you had so many different egos and things like that at drama school. Because we were told when you got to Rose Bruford, the one thing that one of the lecturers said to me was, because I was struggling and it was challenging that first year. And there were things where, because things were, for want of a better term, because things were kind of easy at Dudley College, and then I was at Rose Bruford, and she said to me, this lecturer, she said, look, you don't have to worry about being the best. You're with the best of the best already, and she was trying to make me feel a bit better about it. But yeah, it was funny. Yeah, that was showing on TV. So my mates and stuff, Jerome. Jigger Man, we used to call him, from Wales, big Jerome. He was the one that spotted me on Brum, and he was saying to everybody, oh, he's on Brum. And I even did a commercial for a company called CompuTeach as well, and that was airing at the time. So yeah, I was one of the only students at Rose Bruford that had already got these 2 credits. So
this was sort of around 2001, so early noughties, early 2000.
Yeah, 2001. Funny enough, the very first day at Rose Bruford was the day where the Twin Towers thing happened.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Very first day. So we were meant to be doing what they called Meet the Parents that evening, where you would meet the second and third year students. But obviously that just got cancelled. Everybody just said, just go home, And so, yeah, because we had our first day, and then in the evening we were meant to go to the local pub nearby, and this was at the Deptford campus, so just outside Greenwich, lovely area. Deptford, not so good at the time, but we were meant to go to that pub. But then I got a phone call from my sister, and she said, "Look, Rupi, have you heard what's happened?" I said, "No." We went to the shop, and it was weird. It was like you thought you were watching a film, but they showed footage of what happened. And the next day at uni, the international students who have, obviously a few were from America, there was a big chat in the morning. Said, "Look, we've got support groups set up if you need to chat, if you need to talk and stuff." And it was. I just remember that I was literally the first day at Rose Bruford. The Twin Towers thing happened. So
we'll remember it, don't we? Happening. Where were you in your? I guess you were at school, Ethan. Were you around that sort of time? You must have been.
2001. I was.
Were you born?
1 years old.
Oh my goodness me!
Was even not even 1, yeah.
But you were preschool by about 3 years. Wow, you're that young. So you were born in 2000. I suppose. Yeah. I mean, not. Yeah, that's still 26 years ago. Depressingly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. We're just throwing the question about education onto you, Ethan. Obviously, you went through school. What did you study actually at sort of college, university? What was your what did you go into? Was it always kind of film?
No, it was actually BTEC Sport.
Sport, you?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of football.
Nice.
And then that was like the practical side, and then the theory was like sport and stuff, and
Okay.
Like science, really, isn't it?
Sport science.
So went to university for a bit in sport journalism, but it lasted like until COVID, and then I just like left. And then it's like filmmaking now. So, but it's funny that like every film that I'm doing, I think has some sort of sport to it as well. So it's always relevant. And I'm obviously doing this podcast now.
That is very true, actually. Yeah. It's you're fusing sport and filmmaking.
Yeah, fusing it
in an innovative way. That's really exciting. So. Back to you, Rupi. I've got here, as well as acting, you enjoy writing. You're big into writing. And you have a comedy short called The Brummy Bat. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that was produced by BBC, is that right? And
BBC produced like a 1 minute comedy short of it. So it was a competition that was run by BBC Asian Network as well as the BBC Writers' Room. So basically, we had to apply. We had to send off like kind of our idea of a comedy sketch, and then if you were chosen, you would go to this workshop at the mailbox because BBC obviously previously were based at Pepper Mill, and then when they closed that studio down, they then moved everything to the mailbox, where they do like a lot of the radio, like the Archers, which I've done as well. They record that there, but yeah, it was interesting because it was very intense. It was like, a lot of comedy kind of ideas and concepts, and then we had to get down writing, and it was there's a term in writing where they say, like, it's a horrible term, but it's like almost, they call it killing your babies, and it's a horrible term, but basically what it means is, you're so fond of this idea that you love it to bits, but it just might not fit in the writing. You have to kill that baby of an idea. So it was learning all these techniques and kind of shrinking the script, but keeping the essentials of what makes a joke funny, how you do sometimes the 3 steps to a joke and things like that. But yeah, I was fortunate for them to choose the script. Not the regret, but the one thing that I wish had happened is obviously as an actor as well, I wanted to perform as the Brummy Bat in the sketch. And I had in my mind, I'm going to be like Sylvester Stallone, man. You're not having my Rocky script unless you put me in it. I had all these kind of ideas in my head, but they were insistent that the way that I'd kind of tailored this Brummy Bat character now for the sketch, it had to be a young person. They didn't think I was suitable to do it, and basically, without them specifically saying it, it was like either you give us the script and we film it and you still get that credit, or we don't do it at all if you're insistent on playing the character. So it's that thing where I said, right, okay, go for it then. So they filmed it, and I still find it funny now. It was very much in the vein of like Goodness Gracious Me and things like that,
yeah, love it.
Which I loved watching when I was growing up. So yeah, that's out there. That's on YouTube as well. And it's also on my YouTube account. You can find it there as well.
Who played
but yeah,
in the end, who played the Brummy Bat?
Who played the Brummy Bat? This is the one where we might have to edit it out because I forgot his name. But he's a good guy. He's a friend of mine on Insta as well. He's gonna kill me if you keep this in. But yeah, he's a funny guy.
It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Research. When was this? Sorry, when was Brummy Bat?
This was Brummy Bat. Was probably 2018, maybe 2008, either 2017 or 2018.
It's not a super long time ago. Probably in Ethan's mind, that's forever ago. For us like older ones, it's that just seems like the other day. He's like that was a child. So you've also done a lot of adverts, commercials on TV. I've got here Sainsbury's. You've done promos for Sainsbury's, IKEA. Yeah. You want to name drop any other big companies?
Confused.com, Skybet, Argos, Green Flag, Hands Down, Hargreaves Lansdowne. Yeah, I had an incredible run of adverts.
That is really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because at the agency that I'm with now, Red Talent Management, big shout out to Rob, Connor and the team. Connor, funny enough, who's also an actor who works for the agency, he was calling me the advert man at one point because I had such a, as I said, just a really, really good run of advert after advert. And being a young father now, a husband and stuff like that, it's brilliant because it's, 1 or 2 days work. You get a great lump sum of money. And then you kind of like, I'm free to do the school runs and things like that as well. But it was just, I think the first one that I did, and the big one was Sainsbury's. So I did a Sainsbury's I did advert Sainsbury's where I'm drinking a milkshake. And the funny thing was, they actually wanted me to drink the milkshake. So in the first few takes, I wasn't, because I thought I'd be the nice person on set. I don't want them to have to keep on rechanging the milkshake. I wasn't drinking it, and then the director was like, "Rupi, doesn't look like you're drinking." I was like, "Oh, am I meant to?" I thought like just to save, and said, "No. really drink it. I was like, right, okay. So then they kept on putting sweeteners in it to get it, like, because it didn't taste nice at the start. And then they kept on putting all this sugar and stuff like that. I think I drank, it was probably about 50 odd glasses of this milkshake, right? And the one take, it did spill down me, didn't it? It did spill down me on one of the takes. So then that took another like 20 minutes to reset and get me a different costume and all that kind of stuff. No. But it was, after such a long period being away from actually acting on set, because I did 14 years working for a theatre and education company full time. Yeah, so I left the game of acting probably 2007 because things changed at home. As Ethan, as people in the kind of the film world know, acting world know, it's hard to find a regular job. 100%. You never do. So I had to earn more income for the family. So I found a job with a theatre and education company in Birmingham called Loudmouth Education and Training, and they've been going for like 30 years now. Brilliant company to work for, but it was full time. So it was like being a teacher without the marketing and things like that, but going in and performing every day as an actor. It's hard to find a job where you're doing that. And I loved it. And the work, a lot of TIE, it sometimes gets a bad rep because people might think it's a bit naff or it's dealing with funny issues. But this was serious issue-based stuff, looking at sexual health, looking at grooming, exploitation. Quite hard-hitting subject matters, but dealing with it in a way which is accessible for the young people. So we would do a performance, hot seating, do a workshop. And like I said, because it was full-time, I didn't have the time to do anything else. So I was with them for 14 years. And it was only during COVID, which we briefly mentioned, where we transitioned to doing things virtually for a short period of time. And my wife was watching me, and she was like, afterwards, she was like, "This is great, but it wasn't your dream, was it?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "Well, look, she's a teacher." So she said, "Look, financially, we're all right at the moment. Why don't you have a crack at it? Go for it again." She gave me that green light. And so, it was a big step to leave that job, regular income for 14 years. Got Red Talent Management, got the agency. And then, as I said, just a great run of adverts. And I was really fortunate to do that. And it's been brilliant.
A great move then, a great career move to, although the TIE was great fun, to then, make that next step, I guess, with your career.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Rupi showed me a few of the adverts, and I actually recognised you from the ad. Like I've seen you on TV, so. But I know that you said like a few of them.
Well, I think I do recognise you as well.
Yeah.
Oh right, bro. Oh, cheers, Jack.
Yeah. So it's you've obviously got your face out there enough to be recognised.
I think it was there were idents, which are the little bit of an advert that you get before a program starts.
Yep.
So, like for example, Emmerdale, they were being sponsored by Confused.com. So it was, I did 2 of those idents for Emmerdale for Confused.com, and it was playing up on the Brummie accent. So you hear the inner thoughts of the person that's watching Emmerdale. And it was the Brummie accent that I put on, and it was in the second round of auditions where you get to meet what they call the clients, so people from Confused.com. And they were sitting on the couch as I'm in front of the camera with the casting director. And when I was putting they just couldn't stop laughing. And it was like, you walk out of the audition room and you think, oh, I've got a good chance here. I've got a good chance. And then, I got it. But those were like, in terms of like a showreel clip, absolutely brilliant, because the camera just pans in on your face.
Yeah,
and it's my voice as well, so it's just like I was just thinking, wow, this is a great little kind of cameo kind of appearance and stuff, and I think that's where a lot of people recognised me, because it was straight on one person.
I remember those little idents actually, because I went for a stage. This was like 5 years ago, ish. But I went for a stage when I came back from work for my lunch break. I used to come home, and I used to stick on ITV4.
Yeah.
I used to play Emmerdale repeats, because when I was a kid, I used to watch Emmerdale in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I was rewatching Emmerdale episodes that I watched like as a, I don't know.
Was it called Emmerdale Farm back then? Because they dropped the farm, didn't they, at one point? And they just
I'm not that old, Rupi. It was still called Emmerdale. But you're right, they did drop the farm. But that was quite a bit before I started watching it. But no, it's weird, because I storylines all came back to me. So that I had like an Emmerdale addiction for about a year.
Wow.
Watching retro Emmerdale addiction. It's not something I recommend, but
well, hey, it's a good advert for ITV4, ain't it? That.
Talking of soaps, have you done any soaps?
I've had so many close shaves. So obviously, like, you know, little kind of roles like a police officer and maybe a lawyer here and there, doctors, because I think because of Beetlejuice, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, it just felt like I was getting so many parts where I was playing like a midwife or a nurse and things. So I've had a few close shaves, but it's you know, to be on something like Emmerdale properly, to be on something like Coronation Street, EastEnders, it's a dream, you know, that I still got. And hopefully, touch wood, you know, one day it happens. If the casting directors are watching this, you know, please get me in that room. You know, I'd love to be on something like that, even if it's for, you know, a little one-time part. But the thing is with soaps, which a lot of people might not be aware of, is sometimes actors that do these little one-off roles, they then get recast and they have like a major stay. So. You know, in EastEnders, so many people have done that. They play the police officer here, and then maybe a year later they've gone on to have like a major, like 10-year span on the soap. So
would you like to be in a soap, a regular full-time soap actor? Is that something that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think for an actor to have a regular gig, we talked about, you know, earning regularly, to have something like that. But I think obviously there's a lot of the fame that comes with it. Because as soon as you're on a soap opera, you know, you're in the limelight, you're on TVs, you're in people's homes pretty much every day. So that'll be something which, you know, you'll have to kind of speak to those that are in the know and find a way to deal with that level of flame and obviously privacy and things like that, because you know, social media and things and your family and you want to keep things private to a certain degree, but at the same time you want to interact with people. And I, you know, I think at the age that I'm at now, you know, I'm early 40s now, even though I might not look it, you know. Anyway, but yeah, I think I'm ready for it, and I would love to do something like that.
Definitely. No, I feel like soaps would be cool. I think unlike other acting, you know, with soaps you very much get probably compared to your character. Like, people see you because you're playing a character every single week. They probably associate you very much with your character more than say film actors. But that does lead us into our next question. So let's talk about films. So you were cast in the Beetlejuice sequel, Beetlejuice. How did that come about, and how cool was it to work with Tim Burton? Because I understand you're a massive fan of his.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we mentioned it earlier about the 80s and things like that. I mean, Batman '89. I mean, that was just what a moment in time for me. I mean, it was funny because at the time that it came out, in terms of the rating of it, I think back then you still had 15 rated films. You don't see much of it now. You get like, you know, 12A, and then it feels like it jumps up to 18. Yeah, it was because the thing was as well, Batman at the time, it had the stigma of the old 1960s serial, which was, you know, very campy, very funny, very child friendly. But this '89 Batman film by Tim Burton was very dark and serious, which a lot of the superhero films now are. But back then it was quite a new thing. So a lot of children were being turned away from the cinema. You couldn't go and watch it. So I remember my parents and my family saying, "Oh, you can go and watch that at the cinema." And I was like, "It's a 15 certificate. You can't go." And I remember they actually took me to the cinema and thinking that you're still not listening to me. And then the people at the cinema said, "No, we can't." You know, and I remember crying my eyes out like mad. But Tim Burton and the Batman, and obviously Batman Returns, you know, Edward Scissorhands, all these films that Tim Burton has done, you know, rightfully, I think it was only the last couple of years or so, he's got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So working with Tim Burton was just unbelievable. But I had to keep the fanboy inside until the very last moment with him, when I asked for his autograph and told him how much of a fan I was. I just wanted to make sure I was professional. How it came about was, which a lot of auditions are now, self-tapes. So a self-tape request came through, and they used the code name for the film. They were calling it Blue Hawaii. And I was like, right, okay. They didn't tell me who the director was at the time. It wasn't listed. It was very secretive. But they said, you know, all we need to see is, we need to play a doctor. You need to have kind eyes. So if you can wear a surgical mask, and it's you delivering a baby, and we just need you to do a quick little scene like that. And I was like, okay. But we were on we were away on holiday at the time. Funny enough, we were staying with Daphne and Jim. So my old landlord and landlady from my second and third year at drama school. We were at their house, and I said, look, I've got to do this self-tape. So I had to wait for everyone to go to sleep. They gave me the spare room. I used a bit of blue tack and stuck my phone on it. Funny enough, they still had surgical masks from COVID days. And I literally just filmed it to camera and I put American accent on and sent it. That was probably about 11:30 at night. The next day, around 4 p.m, when we were about to leave to come home, I then got notification from my agent saying, you've got the job. And I was like, great, what is it? And he goes, just waiting for confirmation. So then I'm searching Google trying to find out what Blue Hawaii is. And I found that it was the name of an old Elvis Presley film. Yeah. So I was like, right, are they remaking this? Then I got notification from my agent saying confirmation of the director. And when I saw Tim Burton, I was like, I said, is this what I think it is? Because everyone's talking about Beetlejuice 2 being made. I said, is this what I think it is? And he goes, it very well might be. And I was just going, like, I was so happy. And obviously I had to sign the NDAs and things like that. So we filmed it, when was it? 2023, probably we filmed it. At the Warner Brothers Studios in Leavesden, just outside Watford. But it wasn't until obviously a year later that it came out. So for a whole year, I couldn't tell anyone that I was in this, Beetlejuice sequel. But working with Tim Burton, every day he would see me on saying, "You're right, Doc," and I was like, "Hey, you're right, man." I just couldn't believe where I was. I had my own trailer. I was sitting next to Danny DeVito at one point. I was just like, "Oh my god!" Working with. Yeah, that was he only had maybe 1 or 2 days on set because he's part. They weren't really publicizing it. It was almost like it was supposed to be like a special cameo in the film, but he was like proper method. He had his makeup on, and he was you could tell he was almost like getting into character. He plays this really horrible janitor type character in the film. And then funny enough, Winona Ryder, also Jenna Ortega, they introduced Jenna Ortega to him. So I'm just standing, off set, and I'm thinking, God, where am I? What's going on? You know what I mean? Just unbelievable.
He pinched me moment. That's amazing. That's incredible. What an experience that was. And can you the line you did for the audition? Do you say that line in the film?
No. So it was weird because on set, I had my sides, which are the script, and making sure I knew my lines and things like that. And it was at the time similar to what I had to do in the self tape, but then it was getting drip fed to me what was going to happen. So they said, right, so Jenna Ortega is going to be giving birth, and then the baby that she gives birth to. Spoiler alert! Actually, if you haven't seen Beetlejuice 2, this is a bit of a spoiler. It's been out for over a year now, so hopefully popular people would have seen it. But basically, what she gives birth to is like a baby Beetlejuice, like a mini Beetlejuice monster, and it basically jumps out and it basically bites my shoulder and kills me. So right. They wanted to do things very practical. They wanted to go back to the way that they filmed the original back in '86, I think it was. So the special effects were minimal. So it was a real puppet. Mm-hmm. So you had 3 or 4 puppeteers controlling this puppet. I then had the special effects team put wires up my back, which spurted out the blood. There's a big, massive amount of blood that spurts out of my shoulder as the puppet bites into my shoulder. So we had to have stunt coordination meetings and special effects meetings. I remember I went into the special effects room, the makeup room, and I could see all the different props from it was just again, if I wish I could have taken a picture of it all. Obviously I didn't because you're not meant to, and I made sure I was professional on something like this. But I just what I saw in that room was just amazing. There was a big massive mannequin of William Dafoe who plays an officer in the afterlife, and they freeze him at one point. So I was head to head with that mannequin at one point. I was just like,
oh, that's surreal. Yeah.
Just unbelievable. And obviously William Dafoe playing the Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man film, things like that. It was just...
So, Rupi, moving on from films, to TV actually a bit
Yeah.
now. So am I right in saying you play a midwife in Dexter Proctor?
I do.
Sorry, I mispronounced that. Dexter Proctor, sorry, which is, I believe, on the BBC.
It is, yeah. So, yeah.
How was that? How did you get into that? How did that come about? And how good was it to work with the Beeb again?
Oh, it was great. It's really strange because from Beetlejuice, which was such an amazing high, I then had so many close shaves with like The Witcher and idents for I'm a Celeb to Get Me Out of It. So I was, getting so close, just not getting over the line. So then I had felt like a year and a half of where it was really tough, really challenging. I wasn't getting a lot of acting work. And in the meantime, I do work in school still, but on a kind of like an ad hoc basis when I can fit it in. And even that work had dried up. So I went through a really tough time after Beetlejuice. And it was only until last year, September, things started to pick up. And one of those things was getting Dexter Proctor, the 10-year-old doctor. Matt Lipsey, who's the director, who also has done on Apple, the football, what's it called? It's escaped me now. Big famous TV show about an American coach. What's it called? Ted Lasso. Yeah. So working with Matt, who's the director of Ted Lasso, I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Cool.
And that was unbelievable. But yeah, it was nice to be on something with the Beeb again, because I did Red Rose as well for BBC, and that's on Netflix as well. Or it was on Netflix, might be on iPlayer now. But Red Rose, that was that's like a horror thriller thing. If you catch that as well online, that's a decent watch. But working with BBC is always great because they really take care of you. And the thing about Dexter Proctor was all I had to play was a midwife. You see me right at the start of the first episode. It's only one episode at the moment, actually. I thought there were going to be more episodes. But if you find it on iPlayer, I'm in literally the first 5 minutes. And it's the mother of Dexter, and I'm kind of wheeling her through the hospital. And then she's given birth to Dexter. And again, spoiler alert, he's such a brainiac. Within moments of being born, he names himself, which is it's out there, the series. But as the midwife, I see the baby talk and name himself, and then I faint. So with any filming, obviously, you have to do the reaction shots, you have to do the group shot. When it came to my close-up, and it does sound big-headed, this, but I've got to say it because I was so proud. When it came to my close-up of me fainting, one take, people. One take. I did it. And there's always that silence of, are we going to reset? And I got myself back up because there was a crash right behind me that I fall on. Got myself back up, ready for the next take. And then Matt went, no, that's great. Right, we'll move on. And the rest of the cast, they did this. No, I swear, I'm not lying. They all looked at me, they went, whoa. They went like that.
They were like, this guy means business.
Well, that was it. I was like, I was, oh my God. I was like, just one day, like he must have, because I did these funny eyes where I kind of roll my eyes back and faint, whatever. But he loved it so much. I was like really proud of myself, and let's hope Matt keeps me in mind for another series of 10 Lasso or something. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, sometimes you only need one take. But no, go you. So we've talked about Beetlejuice. We talked about Dexter Proctor. We talked about Brum. All that is insignificant to the next question I'm about to ask. Because we know what's brought us all here today. It's a film by Ethan Ralph Alexander. I believe it's called The Cheerleader. So let's talk about The Cheerleader. And then, Ethan, maybe you can field some follow-ups for this one. But The Cheerleader, Ethan's film, how did it compare to other, maybe, let's say, bigger scale productions you've worked on? Sorry, Ethan. That's what I've got written down, so I can say that. How did it compare to, other productions you've done, whether it's film, big TV shows, big ads? What was life like on The Cheerleader, and how was Ethan as your director?
I had a great time. I think the biggest thing for me was the ambition of Ethan. Mate, I'm bigging you up, dude. But Ethan, he kind of, it's almost like in a business sense, a headhunting. He found me online, and he'd researched my career and stuff, and just messaged me and said, look, I'm doing this film. love to give you a part in it and stuff like that. And I think with me, it's going back to kind of my days doing the work in Birmingham and working in acting schools and things like that. You want to help others as well. You know, you want to feel like you're giving back as well. Yeah. I'm by no means a massive name. I've not done like really mega stuff and stuff like that. But if I can help with the experience that I've got, then, you know, I'm all for it. So I thought, yeah, let's do this. You know, it's nearby. Wasn't filming that far away. So I came along for the ride, and we had a really good day. I think it was just the one day that we did the filming, and just not that far away from kind of Nuneaton area. And it was lovely. Everyone on set was brilliant. We did our 2 or 3 scenes in the leisure centre as well, and I think it was the town hall, Ethan, that we used as well. Yeah, that was it. So yeah, and you know, and then Ethan was afterwards when he was doing the editing, he was sharing kind of. Funny enough, doing something funny with my eyes seems to be my special thing now. But also, I did something with my eyes there, and special effects. I had lasers. I looked like Cyclops at one point. So all these different ideas of stuff. But we spoke a lot, didn't we, about influences like the Naked Gun films, and stuff like that. So no, Ethan, I had a great time, man.
It was really good. It was really good, and I remember on the Zoom call as well. We did a little read through the script. Yes. And I just asked Rupi, like, what does Tim Burton do? And he just said, you know, like, you're doing fine, man. Just, you're doing okay. And it meant a lot to me because it's my first time doing anything. And he's obviously had that experience. And, it was just like treating me like it was a big role, which was, it meant a lot.
That's really good.
You're welcome, dude.
You're asking for director's direction from an actor.
Yeah, I was like, you got any advice?
If people don't know with the Cheerleader, you might spot a familiar face along with me in the judges as well. So Ethan not only directed it, but he was actually playing one of the judges. So it's always a tricky thing when you're acting in your own production as well. So you know, if I can help in whatever way I could, then you know I was just offering it. But obviously you don't want to tread on a director's toes at the same time. So I think I kept a good balance there.
Yeah, definitely great as in offering ideas as well. Like we did a variety of different sort of when he takes the glasses off, and he had loads of like, because I think you're just good in comedy as well. So you kind of just offering like, this could be funny if we say this. So yeah, we had a bit of variety there. And then we showed that in the outtakes as well, kind of at the end, in the credits.
Yeah.
So hopefully it shows how good of a time we had as well at the end of the film.
It was a good laugh as well. It was a good laugh, yeah. I mean, and again, ambitious project for like one of your like first kind of films. Yeah. So, you know, keep me in mind, mate, for future things, dude.
Definitely, man. Right, Jack, you got one more question?
Rupi, yeah. I want to talk about the Freshwater Theatre Company.
Yes.
Could you tell me a bit about that and what is your role within that?
Yeah, so with Freshwater Theatre Company, again, they are a drama and education company. So what we do is we go into schools and we support the existing learning that the teachers do with the young people. So I lead sessions on a few subject matters. One of them, which is my favourite, which is the Great Fire of London. So the young people in sometimes year 1, sometimes year 2, they'll be learning about the Great Fire of London as well as their kind of normal day at school. So what I do is I'll go in with them, kind of see what they already know, and then we expand on it because we time travel back to 1666, put my worst Cockney accent you want, mate, and then we go through Pudding Lane. And it brings to life what they're learning. There are other subjects that I do sessions on as well. But the reason why I'm with Freshwater, after leaving Loudmouth after 14 years, an actor friend of mine, Sam Oatley, he played the villain in one of the Doctor Who series. You know the series of Doctor Who where it's the female Doctor. The very first episode of that series, if you look at the bad guy, he's like an alien with a funny name. That's my friend Sam, and he's gone on to do other things as well. He's great actor. But he said to me, he goes, Root, I know you're going back into freelancing, but he goes, don't forget what your bread and butter is, which is now, you know, you've got all that experience of TIE, theatre and education. He goes, don't forget that. And that was a great bit of advice. So what I did was I found that Freshwater were auditioning for new facilitators, active facilitators. So I auditioned for them as well. I do work for another theatre education company as well called OpenView, and I do anti-bullying internet safety workshops as well. And this stuff for me, as any actor will tell you, it's hard to find a job where you're performing every day. You know, but with this work, when I do have the sessions, because it's not full time, there are quite a lot of days of work when they come about, and for me it's brilliant, you know, because I love working with young people, and you're performing, and Freshwater is a brilliant company, and also a big massive happy birthday to Freshwater because they're celebrating their 30th anniversary this year as well.
Hey, oh cool, oh amazing, they've been going a good while then.
They have been, yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic, yeah. I know I've got nothing but good things to say about TIE because I did it for a bit as well, and it is very fun. It's great fun, and as you say, some of the plays are a mixture of informative and entertaining, and some of them are really well written as well. And it's actually the first and only time I've been asked for an autograph is doing TIE as well by the kids at the end of the show. So that's. Got to thank it for that. Now, final question, Rupi.
Yeah.
It's a question we like to ask on this podcast to all the guests that come on.
Sure.
Don't overthink it. Well, two questions, actually. One, we might know the answer to this already, but what's your favourite film of all time? And two, in a movie of your own life, who is going to play you?
Oh, wow. Number two, a movie of myself. I'd want to play myself. You know, that'd be Muhammad Ali did it once. There was a biopic of himself, and he played himself. I know Will Smith played him later on. But if another actor could play me, oh God, it's interesting. He's probably a little bit older now. Dev Patel. I mean, he's doing brilliantly. You know, he's been going, you know, massive. So you know that could be another person. You know, if it's not me. My favourite film of all time. Obviously, we mentioned Batman '89, but I'm a massive comedy fan. I mean, Ethan mentioned it that, you know, I like doing comedy and stuff like that. You know, things like Home Alone. You know, every year at Christmas time, I will watch it and I will love it. Home Alone 2, the bit where, you know, kind of the burglars when there's the bit where the one with the big hair, when he gets electrocuted and for a second he turns into a skeleton. Every year I will laugh at that my head off. It's just an amazing moment. Rush Hour, films like that.
Yeah. And
one film which more people might not know of, but it's a great film. Robin Williams, who's, you know, I'm a massive fan of Robin Williams. I'm hooked, you know, things like that. But he did a film called Bicentennial Man, where he plays a robot that turns into a human. That film, man, that's a film, you know.
It's actually pretty good.
It's really good.
It's especially the first half. It goes off a bit, I think, towards the end. But it's quite a sad film as well. It tugs at the old things a bit, and it's quite a clever concept as well, actually. You're right, it's an underrated film, actually, Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
And also Robin Williams, sorry.
Robin, yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire, like, I love it. That's another film that gets me a bit at the end. It's really lovely film. It really toes the balance between comedy and drama and emotions and all the rest of it. I think it's a cracking piece of work.
Yeah, he's you know, it's unfortunate, obviously, what happened with his passing. If you look at his body of work and the happiness that he brought people, I mean, if you're looking in terms of being an aspirational actor and what you want to leave behind, I mean, the work that he's left behind is, you know, just unbelievable. So that'd be something to aspire to.
Yeah. So you mentioned your sister a lot. How important was she to your acting?
Massive, yeah, massively. You know, one thing that I did, no, I don't think anyone that knows me knows that I did this. Actually, this is an exclusive for you. When I got my acting degree, the actual certificate from Rose Bruford, I framed it, but then I got a little plaque made, and in the plaque I wrote my sister's name. I said, "For you, love me." So, because if it wasn't for my sister, You know, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have done the things that I've done. You know, and I think you always, whoever that person is, you always need someone that believes in you, someone that pushes you to a certain extent, supports you and guides you. I mean, she came to all my auditions for my acting schools, you know, riding on London tubes for the first time and all this kind of stuff, you know. She's been absolutely, took me to the Saturday classes, obviously. And even when I was doing other productions where it'd be like, you know, she's had a full day of work, then she would come pick me up and take me to the rehearsal rooms and things like that. You know, I'm very fortunate to have my sister who helped me throughout the way.
And obviously you have your own family as well. Do they play a massive part in like the type of roles you pick, or because obviously you mentioned Home Alone as your favourite film? Is that because you watch it with your family?
Yeah, I think nowadays. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very kind of family orientated kind of guy. You know, I'm very fortunate to have two beautiful, healthy children. You know, a brilliant wife, beautiful wife. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. And I think what I found, it was funny because when I was at drama school, which was all those years ago, 26 years ago, Big Brother had just come out onto Channel 4. Big Brother had the boom of reality TV. In terms of casting, it had a major effect on the way things were being cast. So now it was more about, if you're looking for, you know, a father who's 40 years old, who's Asian, right? Can you find someone who is that already? Not someone who isn't a father. We want a real person that is a father. So it kind of affected the casting. So like what I find now compared to my younger years in acting is you use what you've got. In that way, you don't really have to act, and there's a authenticity to what you're saying and doing. So now in terms of the parts that I get cast for, doctors, I get doctors and midwives quite a lot, but also fathers.
Yeah. And obviously I'm a Villa fan, and the great thing about you is we've kept in touch after shooting, after the film, because whenever Villa lose, I seem to get a message from you, to be fair.
Well, you pay me out as to be the bad guy here. No, what it has been, I'll be honest with you, is that when Man United were on top, being a kind of a Brummy Red, you have a lot of West Brom, Wolves. My cousin who's a Wolves fan gives me so much, well, he used to give me a lot of grief, not so much nowadays. But Villa fans as well, you know, like, you know, you give you so much grief when Man United would lose, because, you know, obviously we're winning quite a lot, especially under Sir Alex Ferguson. But anyway, since Emery coming in charge of Villa and things have been on the up, you know, you're in the Champions League, we're not, and all this. I'm seeing so many Villa fans talking and posting things up and ridiculing Man United, especially when we were like under Amorim and Eric Ten Hag and things like that. So I'm just giving it back, you know. I'm just giving it back a little bit, you know. It's funny because I've got another mate of mine who's a Villa fan, and I posted something into our WhatsApp group. I don't think he liked it, but I think I might have mentioned to you, Ethan, as well, how my theory is how he's kind of, the managers mess things up at the moment. I'm saying this now, they're probably going to end up beating Man United at Old Trafford on Sunday. But I said I believe he's kind of messed things up a little bit, because obviously the rules aren't there with your transfer business at the moment, the financial structures and things like that. But I think what he's done is, by kind of moaning and complaining about what's going on, the players that are already there, they might be feeling that they're not good enough, you know, to get over the line and get fourth. So I don't know. And, you know, at the end of the season, if you don't get Champions League, it'd be interesting to see, because, you know, at the end of the season, there's going to be clubs sniffing around for managers. You know, Real Madrid, obviously it's the big one. Man United, because Carrick, not necessarily we get given the job. Spurs, if they stay up, even if they go down, they'll be looking for managers as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting after the World Cup.
Speaking of sport, you're a big wrestling fan, aren't you?
Oh, massive, man.
So we'll speak about that for a bit. And I know that when Hulk Hogan passed, you had a little clip of you kind of interviewing him. How do those things come about? Is that just you being a fan and you being in attendance?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, we mentioned about generationals, being an 80s kid and things like that. When wrestling, which a lot of people say, especially if you live through it, the Attitude Era, which was when you had Monday Night Raw, the main program for anyone that doesn't know wrestling, the main program for WWE, back then WWF. They were up against WCW, and their program was Monday Night Nitro. So you had two rival shows happening pretty much at the same time, two different networks in America, and it became a massive rivalry for the viewing figures and things like that. But for a wrestling fan, it was brilliant because everyone was on top of their game. Hulk Hogan had made the switch from WWE to WCW. And gone from like the babyface, the good guy, the mega good guy. He was now the bad guy on WCW. But the thing was, as bad as he was, the fans loved it. And at that time on WWE, you had their equivalent to what WCW were doing. It was they had a faction, a group called DX. So with Shawn Michaels and Triple H and stuff like that. But for me, the biggest thing was The Rock. But he was so good, so funny. And I think that was the thing. Wrestling is wrestling, but it's not just wrestling. It's theatre, but on TV. You have these big characters. The promos are, for me, arguably better sometimes than what happens in the ring, because it's when you look at the highlights of a show, you see probably more of the promos than you do sometimes of the actual wrestling. Yeah. And The Rock was just unbelievable. You'd go into school and you'll have the long sideburns and you'll wear the shades and do you smell what a Rock is cooking? So yeah, I'm a massive WWE fan. And funny enough, there's a lot of fans that have lost, what's the word I'm looking for? Lost their fondness of it during the years after the Attitude Era. So the John Cena PG kind of era, you would say, and stuff like that. I kept with it, it's just that I enjoyed it. And I think also being an actor, you have that appreciation for what they do as performers. It's physical theatre at its top level. If you think about what they do.
A lot of wrestlers go into acting, don't they? Obviously, The Rock, John Cena now as well.
Yeah, Jericho's done lots of stuff. Randy Orton's done a couple of things as well. But obviously, The Rock, Dave Bautista. I mean, look at the things that he's done, like James Bond and Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxies, and things like that. I mean, I think if I could. Could I go back in time and put my hand in and try something with wrestling? Yeah. Maybe. I think, I don't think I could do what Diamond Dallas Page did. I think he was like in his mid-30s or something, and he entered into the business, and he's got his own business doing yoga now. But yeah, wrestling, man, it's amazing, and it's going through a great time now being on Netflix. So
yeah, and I just wanted to say as well that you've had all these roles and this experience, but you still kind of take the classes, don't you? Like the Red Lens acting I saw. Yeah. So still kind of like just put yourself in it, don't you? And sort of live and breathe it, really.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, when I had that tough time after Beetlejuice, you do question yourself, and any actor would tell you it's great to get back in the gym, and get people's perspective on your technique. And what I found was I am good. I've got this experience and it's helping me, and it's showing when I'm performing. So that was a confidence booster for myself to think I'm not. Because anyone that's out of the business, like my mom always says it to me when I don't get a part, she's basically, without saying it specifically, the subtext is, what did you do wrong? That's the subtext of what my mom would say to me, right? And I've got to explain, with acting, you haven't necessarily done anything wrong. It's just the casting director or the clients or whoever makes the decisions, they just don't think your face fits for whatever reason. You haven't done anything wrong. But during that year, you feel like you are. Why am I not getting over the line? So doing acting classes with things like the Red Lens, Sam Jones as well. There was all these acting classes that are out there. It's good to get back in the gym. But what I found as well is, maybe I could try coaching. So that's what I'm trying to get into now as well. But obviously, if you're a casting director, if you're into films, Stephen Knight, Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, come on, man. I think you need a good Asian face in there. You never know if you make a sequel to the new film. So whatever you're up to, if you're West Midlands based as well, keep me involved. And I've been doing quite a lot of stuff with independent filmmakers such as yourself, short films and stuff, which is brilliant. So I've done a few things. Check out Are We Living? That's a short film on YouTube. I'm really fond of that. I love what we did there. That was made in 24 hours as well.
Wow.
So, big shout out to Aaron and Gujant as well at New Line Films. So check them out.
Well, Rupi, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really, really interesting speaking to you today. Ethan, thanks as always for organising it. And we'll be back soon with another very exciting guest. But until then, from the Rap Please Fusion podcast, it's goodbye from me, Jack. Goodbye from Ethan. Ethan?
Bye.
And Rupi, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And if you want me to come back, I'd love to come back as well, Karen Jane.
Cheers, man.
Amazing. Take care then. All the best.
See ya.
Bye.
Till next time. Bye.